on Mario's iPhone. Hello. Whoop. She's in and out of sound. Muted now.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I'm out of home. So,
كيفك يا عفا؟
anyway, I
هلا خلود كيفك؟
منيحة؟
اشتقت لك والله بعد زمان.
حبيبي لك
Your
انت
screen is
اكثر
freezing.
على السيتيزن انت قدمتي
بدي اقدم هلا هالاسبوع.
بدك تقدمي اوكي.
ايه عم ساوي وراء هلا مطلوبه.
اوكي انا فكرت انه قدمتي مثلنا.
لا اسا.
يا
حضرتكم قديش لكم مقدمين؟
نحن 4 شهور.
انا الي شهر مقدمه.
يا
شهر ونص.
Yes, we are.
يا
Mr. Mike, I have a question, please.
Certainly.
Yeah, when we started to apply for citizenship, if we are here like 4 years ago now,
Okay.
when we started to apply for citizenship for the test,
You have to be in the country at least 5 years to apply. Is that what you're asking?
yeah, 5 years.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Not
when
4 years. Some people told me 4 years and 9 months.
Well, yes, you can start applying that early, but there are a lot of people who are applying who are been here longer and they'll get taken first.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, you can fill out the application, but one of the questions is how long have you been a citizen, or how long have you been in the country? And the minimum requirement is when you actually get processed is 5 years.
Okay, but when I applied, I can't do that after 4 years and 9 months.
You can send it in a little early,
Okay, thank you so much.
Certainly.
I apply 4 year 9 month, and during the 3 month I received the fingerprint. It means you can apply. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
And their response time is based on how busy they are.
Yes. Like you mentioned, so you should be at least 5 years to become citizen. So
Yes.
that's why during that time, after that time, of course, we are about 5 years or
Yeah.
a little more. Yeah.
So Rasul, how long have you been here now?
5 years, 10 days.
Okay.
All right.
I came in March 3, 2017.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
So today is 14. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then good luck now. Good luck.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then I believe that I heard from Viola today that Hanan got her citizenship today.
Yeah.
Yes, they said it.
How exciting for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I am have interview after 2 weeks.
Oh,
For citizen.
2 weeks you have your interview?
Yeah,
Oh, very good. Are you excited or are you worried?
I am worried because I am
yeah.
some question in application. Just in application, I have a problem.
Okay, this is good. I am worried before I apply.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
For apply. It's easy.
Yeah, the application, filling out and turning in the application is the easy part. Answering the questions sometimes is not.
Yeah.
Can some people help you?
They will be kind to you when they ask the question, but when you're in there, you have to answer them yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But you can go through the application and you can have someone ask you questions from it. Viola has a very recent experience with it because it was just last year, but she can tell you what they did in asking questions. Jomana has her in 2 weeks, has her interview. Viola, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but
Okay.
I'm outside of my home, so
They won't let you inside tonight?
I'm outside. I'm not at home, so that's why I make mute. Yeah. What is question? What are you asking about?
Jomana has her interview in 2 weeks. And so Yeah, it's exciting, but she is concerned and worried about the questions regarding the application. So I thought
Okay.
you can put her at
Jumana,
ease.
I will send you Hanan. Hanan did the test today and she passed. I will send you Hanan phone number. You can talk to her.
فيولا لا ليش تحكي مع حنان؟ انا مشكله عندي
عندي انا
أنا-
كلميني في اي وقت يا جمانه.
لا عندي المشكله بالابلكيشن انه فيك بتنزلوك معنا الكلمات.
تعالي مره الفيو ار come to the office وانا اعمل لك امشي اشرح لك كل الابلكيشن ما تعوليش هم. Anytime welcome. Come to VOR and I will go through the application with you. Don't worry.
ميشو وسليم الشهر الماضي اخذوها.
سودو
مبروك مبروك. Congratulations.
Viola Hanan, she passed.
Yes, Hanan today passed.
Oh, excellent. عقبالنا يا رب.
عقبالكم كلكم.
حنان بتدرس معنا هون.
حنان كانت معانا الاسبوع اللي فات. مستر مايك سالها كم سؤال. مستر مايك ask her some questions. She answered good.
She did very good. Yes.
Yeah.
مستر مايك اعطانا الابلكيشن قبل بتتذكري الدرس الماضي بس مو الدرس الماضي اللي يعني هذا
يعني المجموعه اللي قبل ديت
لا وقتها بس ما عطى شرح للابلكيشن شو معنى كل كلمه. بقولوا بيسالوا معاني كلمات.
ماشي لو انت عايزاها يا جماعه عندي بديها لك. حاضر
اوكي بحكي معك بكره.
تعالي لو انت بتسوقي تعالي الفي ار اي يوم وهتلاقيني.
Yeah, so do I, Viola. I need know how can apply for
تعالوا المكتب وخدوا اللي انتوا عايزينه.
Yeah, I need to no I need make a registration like after 2 months now from now.
Oh, so you still have time.
Yeah, I need to share your experience. Okay, thank you, Viola.
But anyway, now if you applied after 6 months, you will get the appointment for test. Because before it was 1 year. Now they started to make it shorter.
Okay, this is good. This is good.
Phoebe and Shokri also got it last Friday. Pastor Mike, Phoebe and Shokri, they passed the test last Friday.
And last Friday?
Last Friday, yes, Phoebe and Shokri.
Did they do well?
Yes, they passed.
Oh, they did.
They did. Yeah, they did.
Very good.
They did. Yeah. We need to make big celebration for all people got the citizen.
We do. We need to have a party at VOR.
Yes.
For everyone who's in the class and everyone that passed.
امين. ربنا يرتب لكم كل خير ان شاء الله.
سؤال حنان طلبوه بعد 6 شهور.
Yes. Hanan after 6 she applied in August. And she passed the test today about 6 months.
Wow.
The same with Phoebe, the same with Shokri.
And Viola, before you got on, Viola, Rasul told us that he got a letter for his fingerprints. So
very good.
Yes.
So about 6 months from fingerprint, maybe less than that.
He said 3 months. He said
about 2 months. About 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, fingerprint about 2 months.
Yeah, this is very good.
Yeah.
Yes.
The process is getting faster. That's very good.
Yeah.
Hi, Faizana.
Hi.
I think Rasul San Bernardino, not Santa Ana. So it will be more faster.
Riverside. The fingerprint was Riverside. Yes.
So your test will be in San Bernardino.
أنا بسانتا أنا فحصي.
Jumana Santa Ana, yes.
Yeah, Rasul, you will go to San Bernardino, I believe. I agree with Viola.
Yeah.
سانتا أنا سهل فيولا؟ ولا
صدقيني كان كويس قوي.
جوزي وابني قالوا كمان سهل كثير.
Don't worry. It will go smooth and everything will be okay. Don't worry.
Oh, you all are going to do fine. I have confidence you're all going to do very well.
Yes.
We've had so many successes that you're right, Viola. We need to have a big party.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. In fact, what we ought to do is put it on the calendar for maybe sometime in April or something, and see if we can get everyone to come to VOR and have a lunch and celebrate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you.
That would be good. We would love that. Yes.
Everybody ready.
Yeah, everybody who is in the class now and everyone who
Yeah,
has
everybody.
who
Yeah,
has taken the
everyone.
class. Yes.
Everybody is ready for the party.
And everybody
It's not-
is more than ready for a party.
Yeah.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Viola, do you know, are we waiting for many more or?
I'm going to, I already sent the message, but I'm
Okay.
going to call too, because Rahuma
Okay,
always attend from Afghan. And I think Amira also.
okay.
I'm looking for participant right now. Participant, Farzana, okay. Jumana, okay. Lailuma, okay. Rasul. Who is VOR? Who
I
is
think-
joined by VOR?
I don't know
I
whose
think
name.
she is Afaf friends.
Oh, maybe Afef. Yes, yes. Afef?
No,
Friend
Faf-
for here.
No, no,
A friend
not
for
Afef.
here.
Yeah, here comes
No,
Khulud.
she is a
No,
friend
no,
for
not
Afaf.
Afef.
انت معانا ميمي مس فيولا
Ah, Mimi. Yes, yes, Mimi. Okay.
Yeah, that's Mimi, but I don't know who VOR is. Hello, Khulud. Good to see you, Khulud.
Who is VOR? I don't know the name.
يمكن انا اللي ده فيولا انا اميره
أيوة أميرة. أنا this is what I'm expect. أميرة. Yes.
طب صلحيه بقى عندك.
أصل أنا مش معايا الكمبيوتر، أنا بره البيت وشغالة
طب
بالموبايل.
خلاص اديك عرفتي الاسم ده.
أنتي بصي يا أميرة، دوسي عند الميكروفون كده. دوسي هتلاقي من تحت كلمة رينيم. خلاص اتصلحت، هو صلحها لي.
طب خلاص تمام، شكرا كتير.
أوكي يا حبيبتي.
طب انا لما اخش في او ار ولا اكتب اسمي؟
ما فيش مشكلة، بنغير وما يجراش حاجة.
طب خلاص اوكي ماشي اوكي. شكرا مستر مايك.
You can start.
Okay, what I will do is first I will quiz you, some of you, on last week's things. So anybody can answer at any time. We'll begin now. When was the Constitution written? When was the Constitution?
1797.
1787. 1787, yes. And when was the Declaration of Independence adopted?
1776.
Very good. And why do we celebrate July 4th?
July 4th. 70.
Yes, but why?
76.
Why do we celebrate it?
Because
Independence, yes.
Independence. 1776.
Yes. And who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
July 4th.
excuse me, 1 minute.
Yes,
Why you celebrate in 4 July? Because have the Independence Day?
yes, it is Independence Day. 4th of July is Independence. It is the day that they adopted the Declaration of Independence. So we call that Independence Day. July 4th, 1776. Okay, and who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
Thomas
Winston?
Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson, very good.
Yeah, Jefferson.
Uh-huh. And who lived in America before the Europeans came?
American Indians.
India.
England.
Very good, Giovanna. Yes, American Indians or Native Americans. Both answers are correct. Very good. Okay, now you can either use Viola's trick in remembering, or you can remember differently on your own. Can you name 3 of the 13 original colonies?
New Hampshire, New York, Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Same Viola. New.
New. Are there any others that you can remember?
Virginia, Georgia.
Virginia, yes.
Georgia, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, very good. Georgia, How about
North Carolina.
Very good, cool. North Carolina, and South Carolina.
Maryland.
Maryland, yes, and then the little state of Delaware and the little state of Rhode Island. Okay, very good.
Alaska, yeah? Alaska same.
No, Alaska was not one of the original 13.
Oh, no?
No, just the East Coast.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire was one, yes, yes, very good. New Hampshire, and I'll read all of them so you can hear them all again. New Hampshire, Delaware, Massachusetts, Maryland, Rhode Island, Virginia, Connecticut, North Carolina, New York, South Carolina, New Jersey, Georgia, and Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
And let's see. What is one thing that Benjamin Franklin is known for?
U.S. diplomat.
Diplomat, US diplomat.
Okay.
Franklin,
He was a diplomat. He was the oldest member of the Constitutional Convention. He started our public libraries, our free libraries, and he was the first postmaster.
نحن بس بدنا واحد. US diplomat.
Easy.
That's the easy one to remember, huh, Afa? Okay, tonight we're going to begin, and I'm going to start sharing the screen, and we're going to begin going through history from the 1800s, and we will go a little bit into the 1900s tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 1800s, I'm going to share the screen, and we will look at,
18,800.
there we go. There's a lot of information for tonight regarding our history, so I'll go slowly. And if you need me to stop at any time and have questions, please feel free to stop me. In 1803, Thomas Jefferson was the president, and France was at war with England, and France needed to get money. So Napoleon sold a territory. And the question number 71 is, what territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? And the answer is the Louisiana Territory, and we many times call it the Louisiana Purchase. I'm going to show you a map to show you how much land it was. All of that is in the white in the middle is how much land we purchased from France in 1803. And you can see that the land that we had before, it almost doubled that. Here's the land we had before, and this is the land from the Louisiana Purchase. So we almost doubled the amount of land that we had in the United States, which was very important for increasing the amount of territory. And if you look at the map, you can see the states that came out of the Louisiana Purchase. We have all of South Dakota, all of Iowa, all of Missouri, all of Oklahoma, all of Arkansas, all of Kansas, all of Nebraska, most of, excuse me, most of Wyoming, half of Colorado, and most of Montana. So many of our current states came from the Louisiana Purchase, which is why it's an important part of our history. So the question is, what was the territory? What territory did the United States purchase from France? And you need to remember the name Louisiana Territory.
Louisiana.
Yes. Okay. Very good.
It is American or it is Mexican?
No, it was not Mexican.
It's not Mexican?
No, it was owned by France. So it was French, had French people living in it. Like Louisiana, the state currently has a very strong French history. And New Orleans, if you've ever heard of New Orleans has a lot of people speak French, and they speak a French and African language called Creole. So it is a heavy French influence, and there were a lot of trappers and hunters in that territory from France.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, certainly. Now we move to the next stage in history in 1800, and there were 4 major wars throughout all of the 1800s that the United States fought. One of them, or 2 of them, were fought on our territory, and 2 of them were fought on different territories, some of which became part of the United States. So I'm going to go through each one of them. Here's where they're listed: the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, and the Spanish-American War. So the War of 1812, after we received our independence from Britain, they did not like that, and they still were very aggressive. They were still in battle a lot with the United States. And they started taking our ships on the ocean, and they would kidnap or take our ships and take our sailors and make our sailors serve in the British Navy. And we did not like that. And so we actually went to war. James Madison was the president, and we call it the War of 1812. And we defeated Britain again. But in this war, they burned the White House and several other places. And there was a very large battle by a future president in New Orleans called Andrew Jackson. And he defeated the British in New Orleans. And that war lasted from 1812 to 1815. So you need to remember one of these wars, and I'm going to explain each of them. And whichever one is easiest for you to remember is the one you have to remember when you take the quiz, when you take the test. So the War of 1812, the next war happened in 1846, 1848. It was the war between Mexico and the United States. The territories of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California were all owned by Mexico. And in the Mexican-American War, we defeated the Mexicans and we won the territory that became those states. So if you look at a map, and I'll go back to the map over here from Louisiana Purchase. If you look at the map, Texas, which is down here, New Mexico, the other part of Colorado, Arizona, California, and parts of Utah, all were territory that when we defeated Mexico, that became part of the United States. Okay? And so that was a major war, and it was the war that had the U.S. go all the way to Mexico City, and we did not want to own Mexico, so we just settled with them, had a treaty that gave us those, and it's called the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and it was the one that gave us those states I just mentioned. Okay, so that's two wars, the War of 1812 and the Mexican-American War. The third war was our Civil War. And the Civil War was the war that was fought between the northern states and the southern states. And it was fought mainly because of slavery and because of what they called states' rights. The South felt they had a right to be independent from the rest of the states. And the northern states and Abraham Lincoln, who was president, said, no, the Union has to stay together. The United States needs to keep all of its states. And so when the war started, and the South started the war, when the war started, it lasted from 1861 to 1865. And Abraham Lincoln was the president during that war. And the Southern, go ahead. Any questions?
Yeah, Viola, can you explain why this between North and the South, please? Why is this where?
Viola, can you hear us?
ايه السبب؟ حد عارف ايه هو قال ايه؟ ايه السبب ان النورث والساوث عملوا اتخانقوا مع بعض ولا كان في حرب؟
مشان تحرير العبيد يوم صارت الحرب حبيبتي.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find out if Viola is still on. Maybe she had to go.
هيك مرة شرح لنا إياها.
Only this part I didn't explain. I didn't know about it.
بين الساوث
والنورث.
كيف السبب كانت؟
سبب
Freedom?
Yes. Yeah.
What?
سيرفيس.
ايه مشان تحرير العبيد.
فريدم.
مشان تحرير العبيد وقت قامت الحرب بامريكا بين الشرق والغرب نفس
عفاف اللي له السؤال اللي بعده بيشرحوا ليش الحرب. Problems.
It's okay. It's okay, Mr. Mike. It's okay.
All right. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know where Viola went. Usually
she told me because the freedom for people.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
No, not freedom.
For freedom for the slaves.
Is that slavery? Yeah.
Freedom for slaves. Yeah. عم نقول لك
okay.
العبيد.
Okay. And the in fact, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Okay, so the Civil War was fought from 1861 to 1865. And we will talk about that in the next question also. The last war in the 1800s was the Spanish-American War. And that was a war between the country of Spain, España, and the country of the United States. And we fought that war because of what was going on in Cuba. We were helping Cuba gain their independence. And in that war, because of it, we ended up winning Florida as one of the states that became part of the United States. So because Spain owned Florida before that time. So 1898 was the Spanish-American War. You have to, for question number 72, remember one of the wars. And I'll mention the names again. The War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War. You have to remember one of those when you are asked what was one war fought in the 1800s.
Yeah. Name more. One.
Mr. Mike,
Yes,
the first war was between American and British, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. They were capturing our ships and our sailors.
Because
And-
of ships.
Uh-huh.
They stolen about the ships from the sea.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, now, question number 73 is all about the Civil War. In fact, you have to name the U.S. war between the North and the South, and there are two ways you can say it that are acceptable. You can say the Civil War, and those of you who are from Syria, you know what a civil war is because it's been going on over there now for a long time, or you can call it the war between the states. And it was a war between the North states and the Southern states. It had a very high cost in lives to the United States. More than 600,000 people died. And the sad part is it was brothers fighting against brothers, fathers fighting against sons, cousin against cousin, because it was a civil war. It was only Americans in the war. And it was a very sad time because it was over something that never should have happened, slavery in the first place.
Yeah,
And
but they said like white and black. This is the war between white and the black.
no, it was between
It's
white
not
and
this
white
one.
to free the blacks. And many blacks fought in it, but it wasn't just white against black. It was white against white. Some who believed they should be able to own slaves, and others who felt no one should be a slave.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. And in fact, the next question, number 70. So you have to remember the name, either the Civil War or War between the states for 73. For 74, it says you have to name a problem that caused or led to the Civil War. And there were three main reasons. I mentioned them before, but I'll go through them again. Slavery existed in the southern states, and there were 11 of those who separated from the United States. And slavery was one of the reasons for it. The other was the economy in the southern states was based on slavery. They had a lot of their workforce, a lot of the people who did the labor were slaves. And when the northern states wanted to end slavery, they said, you can't because our economy will crash. So there were economic reasons. And then there was a question of states' rights, which means the state should be able to decide what they do. The federal government shouldn't be able to tell them. And obviously they have to learn to work within the federal government as well as have their states' rights. So the question was, can a state survive on its own? And then the answer was no. They have to be part of the union. So you can read the whole paragraph, but you have to name one problem.
Yeah.
Name one problem that led to the Civil War. Slavery, economic reasons, or states' rights.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And that's number 74. And there are so many books and so many things written about the Civil War. You could spend years and years reading all of it to find out exactly what happened. And it's interesting reading, but there's a lot. All you have to remember is one of the reasons that it started. Okay, during the Civil War, we had one president. His name was Abraham Lincoln. And question number 75 says, what was one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did?
Civil freedom.
Yes, he freed the slaves.
Slaves, yeah.
Yes, and he did that through a thing called the Emancipation Proclamation, which we will talk about in a few minutes. He saved the Union, or preserved it. He kept it together. The states would have split apart, and we would not have a United States today had they not preserved the Union and had victory in the Civil War. So what was one important thing Abraham Lincoln did? He freed the slaves, he saved or preserved the Union, and he led the United States as president during the Civil War. You just have to remember one of those three things.
How about the money? I saw him in maybe on the money for the people.
Yeah, well, Abraham Lincoln is on a $5 bill today.
$5?
Yeah, his picture is on a $5 bill.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that
What is union?
union means staying together. For them to stay together, all of the states, so that Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, all of them would stay part of the United States. That's the union. I don't know of an Arabic word for that. FF, somebody, do you know how to say that in Arabic? Union?
يونيون العمال.
شو هو؟
يونيون العمال.
يونيون العمال.
يا قادة شو اسمه؟
يونيون اتحاد.
لا اتحاد الولايات.
اتحاد الولايات. اتحاد الولايات during the civil war. Led the United States during the civil war. Yeah.
Itihat means like this. Union.
Yeah, but not all the country have the same.
Yes, some of the states wanted to withdraw from the United States, and this war made it so that they could not. They had to stay together, which made the Union. Abraham Lincoln, just so you know, was the first president to be assassinated, and he was assassinated on April 14th, 1865, right after he was elected for a second term as president. And we have had other presidents assassinated since then, but he was the first one. And he was killed by a person by the name of John Wilkes Booth, who was an actor during that time. Okay, question number 76. What did the Emancipation Proclamation, let's have all of you try to say that. Emancipation Proclamation.
Emancipation Proclamation.
Emancipation
Proclamation. Yes.
All for women's rights.
Yeah, it was
Proclamation.
Emancipation Proclamation. It was a very important document that Lincoln wrote in 1863 while the war was going on, and the document declared that the slaves would be free. And of course, the South did not like that, and it actually became the 13th Amendment in 1865. So it was a very important document, and you need to know what it did, and you can answer it in a few different ways. It freed the slaves, which it did. It freed slaves in the Confederacy, those who were in the southern states. It freed slaves in the Confederate States. It freed slaves in most southern states. So it freed the slaves. That's what it declared. Those slaves living in those areas are all free. And of course, the slaves liked that very much, but the slave owners did not like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was a good decision.
Oh, it was a very good decision. Yes, it was a much necessary decision because they had many of the families, they could have their children sold away from them and have the husbands and wives sold apart separately. It was a very, very bad thing. So it was very good for him to make that decision, make that declaration, and 600,000 people died in that war to make it happen. So, yeah, I know, yeah, more than 500,000 people. And they were all brothers and fathers and sons. So, yeah. Okay, so let's move to the next question, question 77. What did Susan B. Anthony do? Susan B. Anthony was a famous woman who who stood up for women's rights. She believed that women should have the same kind of ability to vote as men did. And so she didn't go to war, but she stood up for and she campaigned or spoke out for women to have the same rights. And she spoke publicly against slavery. She was against that. She was very much in favor of women being able to vote. All of you ladies who come from a country where you can't vote, you don't have a say, it was that way in the United States until the 19th Amendment, which was 1920s. So it was a long time before women could vote in the United States also. And that happened in 1920, and it was the 19th Amendment that gave women the right to vote. Susan B. Anthony fought for women's rights. And it doesn't mean she went to war. It means she stood up for them. And she fought for the rights of everyone to be equal. She fought for civil rights. And so, in fact, she is the only woman to ever be put on a US coin. And they made a Susan B. Anthony silver dollar many years ago. And some people still have them, collectors.
And how about the man? We have lady and man on the coin.
On the coins? Yeah, we have most of the men that are on our coins were past presidents.
Oh, okay.
George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, he's on the nickel. Abraham Lincoln's on the penny. And Susan B. Anthony is on the dollar. John F. Kennedy is on a half dollar. So yeah, most of them.
Okay, thank you.
So you have to remember, what did Susan B. Anthony do? She fought for women's rights. She fought for civil rights.
Fought for civil rights ولا fought for
vote?
Fought.
Oh, that means that she stood up for it. She spoke out for it. She wanted everyone to have equal rights in voting. She didn't go to battle. She didn't have guns. She didn't, fought means she was in the struggle to make sure that women got the right to vote.
Can I explain?
Please.
Fought is the past tense of fight.
Yes.
فوت الماضي من فوت.
Yeah. Fought. Yeah.
Fought is the past tense of fight. So
Yes.
it's the same as fighting.
But it doesn't mean war.
Yes, it's not war, but it's
Yeah.
past tense of fight.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Farzana.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we move to the early 1900s. And we only have a few more questions because there's a lot of information for tonight. And I don't want to bury you with it. For example, on one of them, you have to remember 1 war out of 3 is on this one. You have to remember 1 war out of 5. Name 1 war that the United States fought in the 1900s.
Vietnamese War.
Say again? Vietnam was one of them. Yes.
Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah. Vietnam was one of them. And there was World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, the one you just mentioned, as well as the Persian Gulf War.
Yeah.
And those all happened in the 1900s. The wars were mostly fought in Europe and in Asia, and one of them was fought in the Middle East. So World War I happened in 1914, and the United States did not enter the war until 1917, and the war ended in 1918. And that war was between all of the other countries against the Germans and
British.
Say again?
British.
No, Britain was with the United States. Britain, France, Italy, and the United States were the ones who were against Germany and Austria and the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire.
تركيا يعني ألمانيا وأستراليا وتركيا.
Yeah, the Ottoman Empire or the Turkish Empire. And then that war ended in 1918, and the war officially ended with the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. Okay, so they thought that would be the last time the whole world would be in a war, but they were wrong. because in 1939, Germany invaded Poland, and Germany went to war with the rest of the world. And those who joined with Germany were Japan and Italy.
Italy, yeah.
Yep. And so World War II was fought between all of the allies, which was Britain, France, many countries, Canada, Australia, so many different countries who were against Germany, Japan, and Italy.
Hmm.
And that was World War II. The next war that the US fought in was in the 1950s. This is the war that was going on when I was born. This was the Korean War. And it happened between North Korea and South Korea. North Korea decided to invade South Korea and wanted to take it over. And the world, the United Nations and the world, fought on the side of South Korea, and they created what they call a demilitarized zone, or a nobody can get into it zone between the two countries. And North Korea had to stop at what they call the 38th parallel. And that war was in 1950 to 1953. And then, so that's the third war. The fourth war was another one that was fought in Asia. And it was when North Vietnam decided to invade South Vietnam. And it was for the freedom of South Vietnam that the United States, France, Britain, and other countries fought with South Vietnam. And the communists came from the north, and they actually captured Saigon, the southern capital, in 1975 and 1976. So it became a communist country. In North Korea, it didn't go that way, or in Korea, it didn't go that way. In Vietnam, it did go that way. So that's the fourth war, the Vietnam War. I have many of my classmates from school that died in that war. That was the war of my generation. And then the next war was the Persian Gulf War. And that was when Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the world stood up against Saddam Hussein and pushed him back out of Kuwait. And that's the Persian Gulf War. So that's the five of them. I'll name them again. World War I, World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Persian Gulf War. Those are the five wars in the 1900s that the US was in.
Oh,
And most of you were alive for at least one or two of those. And then the last question we'll have tonight is question number 79. During World War I, when Germany and Austria-Hungary were fighting against the world, we had a president in the United States that said, we are not going to get into this war. And he did his best to keep us out of the war until one of our ships was blown up. And that put us into World War I. The president's name was Woodrow Wilson. He was the 28th president of the United States. And he declared war in 1917. And by 1918, we were fully into it. And then fortunately, it ended shortly thereafter. So Woodrow Wilson was his name. That's what you need to remember.
يا تبع War One Wilder
الحرب العالمية
Woodrow Wilson. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where we started tonight, and I'm going to read the questions and the answers again, because there's a lot of unique names. There's a lot of different terms and names to remember. So I'm going to go back. You can see I'm going all the way back up to where we started. And I'm going to go through and read the names again, the questions and the answers. Question 71 is, what territory did the United States buy from France in 1803? Louisiana Territory, or Louisiana Purchase. Very good. You have to name one war from the 1800s. And there were,
Civil War.
1812.
yes, yeah, very good. Any of those answers are accurate. You can use any of those answers. You have to remember just one of them. Okay. And then question 73 is, name the U.S. war between the North and South.
The Civil War.
Civil War, Yes, or the war between the states. Yes.
Yeah.
And question number 74 is, name one problem that led to the Civil War, or created the Civil War. And slavery is the biggest one. Yes, slavery, economic reasons, and states' rights. All three are proper answers. And you have to remember one of those.
Yeah.
Okay. Abraham Lincoln, question 75. What is one important thing that Abraham Lincoln did?
Freedom
He's
the
the
slave.
slave.
Freed the slaves. Yes.
Slaves.
He also saved the Union or preserved the Union. And he was the president who led the United States during the Civil War.
And someone killed him.
Yes, and someone assassinated him in April of 1865.
Okay.
And then in question 76 is, and again, Lincoln declared in the Emancipation Proclamation, and you have to answer, what did he say or what did it do? It freed the slaves. It freed the slaves who were also in the Confederacy and freed slaves that were in the Confederate States. These are all acceptable answers. And he freed the slaves in most of the southern states, or all the ones that were part of the Confederacy. So basically the answer is, what did the Emancipation Proclamation do? It freed the slaves.
Yeah.
Regardless of where they were.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. And then 77 is, what did Susan B. Anthony do?
Put for the
women's rights.
Yes, for women's rights and for civil rights. Yep,
Yeah.
very good, very good. Now we get to the wars. Name one war fought by the United States in the 1900s.
World
War
War
One.
I. Vietnam War.
Korean War.
Korean War.
19 World War.
Korean War.
Korean War,
Korean
Korean
War.
War, Vietnam War,
War, yeah, and Gulf War.
and the Persian Gulf War. Yes,
Gulf War.
Gulf War.
Gulf.
All right. And then the last question on tonight's would be, who was president during World War I?
Woodrow
Woodrow Wilson. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any other questions on any of the material tonight?
Yes, teacher, why they call Gulf War?
Because the area where it was fought, Kuwait is on the Persian Gulf, or what we call the Persian Gulf. And that was the area where the attack came from, and where the whole region is called that. And in the same way that we call the Gulf states in the United States, because of the Gulf of Mexico, which is in there, the Persian Gulf is the water mass that is right near there. So if you look at a map, you'll see the Gulf of Persia. And so it's called that because that's the region.
Okay.
It's mostly fought in Kuwait.
Yeah, I just asked because to remember, it is.
Oh yeah, I understand.
You know.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a good question. None of the questions are bad questions. They're all good.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yes, I will send the video out now. Next week, many children are out of school, and so there's no ESL and there's no citizenship that night.
This week, no citizenship?
Next week, no citizenship, because it is spring break for many families.
Holiday.
Yeah, spring break, and many children will be out of school and families will not be there. So we are going to, ESL is not, there's no ESL that day, and there's no citizenship at night.
Okay.
Okay, so in 2 weeks, on the 28th, I will see all of you again.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Mai.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's all. Let's all remember to celebrate for Hanan, because she got her.
Yeah.
Yes, Mabruk.
Yeah.
Thank you. You speak Arabic. Tomorrow you speak Arabic. No.
Yeah, I speak a little bit, but I don't let anybody know it. Good night now.
Good night.
Good night.